Good morning and welcome to VulPro. Today is a really special day on the calendar for vultures, as today is International Vulture Awareness Day. So to celebrate, VulPro wants to take you on a special tour of our facilities. My name is Caroline and I'm going to be your tour guide today. So let me take you on this tour and let's go check out what VulPro has to offer. VulPro is a conservation centre focused on protecting African vultures through collaboration and innovation. At our site, we focus on the rehabilitation, captive breeding, and the research of these fields. Currently, we house approximately 200 birds permanently, with other birds in and out of the facility during their rehabilitation process. Beyond our centre, we conduct surveys of various populations of vultures across South Africa. We are also involved in various ongoing research studies that involve protecting these species as best possible. This is both conducted in-house and with various organisations across the world in order to better our understanding of how best to protect these birds. This enclosure houses most of our African whiteback vultures, and it serves two purposes. Firstly, it is here for the captive breeding program, so birds that are here permanently will get the chance to pair up and then build their own nests and hopefully raise successful young. You can see just over here at the back of the enclosure in that big nest, we've already had successful breeding this season, and there's actually a chick on that nest. The other purpose of this enclosure is for rehabilitation. So if birds have been successfully rehabilitated and we are able to release them, they come here for their final phases of that rehabilitation. And in that way we can check if they can fly, so if they're able to make it up onto the big perches at the top, and we can just assess and see if those birds are ready to go back into the wild. African whiteback vultures are found throughout Africa, and in South Africa we have approximately 7,300 mature individuals. These birds' populations have declined by over 90% throughout their range, and for this reason these birds have been listed as critically endangered. One of the main threats to this species is the threat of power lines. These birds are especially vulnerable to this, as they are often found nesting within the power line structures. This enclosure is our white-headed vulture enclosure. At VulPro, we have a pair of white-headed vultures, and white-headed vultures are known to be quite shy and they keep to themselves, so they have their own enclosure to help encourage their breeding. So you'll see they have made a makeshift nest there at the top, and we hope that in time they will lay eggs and breed here at VulPro for us to be able to release their young back into the wild. The critically endangered white-headed vultures are one of the smallest vulture populations in South Africa, with only 160 mature individuals. These birds are now largely confined to protected areas within the Lowveld and Zululand in South Africa. As they tend to avoid areas with large amounts of human disturbance, these birds are very sensitive to habitat degradation and the reduction of available food for them. At VulPro, we house 7 Lapid-faced vultures. This includes 2 pairs, 2 males, and a youngster. These birds unfortunately are not releasable, but they do have a second chance of contributing to their wild populations through our captive breeding program. Thus far, we have not had any successful eggs, but hopefully in the future, these birds will be able to breed and contribute to their wild populations. Lapid-faced vultures are the largest species of vulture in Africa, with a wingspan of nearly 3 meters. In South Africa, we have approximately 300 mature individuals. This species is listed as endangered throughout their range, and this is due to a number of factors that affect these populations. However, the main threat appears to be poisoning, both indirect and direct. We also house 3 palm nut vultures, including a breeding pair. An interesting fact about these vultures is that their preferred food is Paraffia palm nuts, making them omnivorous vultures. This is VulPro's Cape Vulture captive breeding enclosure. Now, Cape vultures often nest on the south-facing cliffs of mountains, and for that reason we have created this artificial south-facing cliff wall for these birds. Now, none of these birds are releasable, however we provide them with the materials such as nesting material for them to build their own nests and recreate that natural scenario where they are able to produce chicks. Now, we are nearly at the end of our captive breeding season here at VulPro, and behind me there are a couple of chicks sitting in their nests with their parents, and we're looking forward to releasing them in the coming months. In the past, we have released multiple successful chicks back into the wild, and we're really excited to see these guys back in the wild contributing to their wild populations. This is our open enclosure. A number of birds that come in, unfortunately, end up having to have wing amputations due to the extent of the damage on them. However, these birds are able to live long, happy lives in our open enclosure. The enclosure has no top, as these birds are unable to fly, and allows for wild birds to come down and feed with them. This enclosure is our Cape Vulture rehab enclosure. So much like the whiteback enclosure that we've shown you previously, this enclosure is built so that we can see if these birds are able to fly to the higher perches and across the enclosure entirely. However, this enclosure serves two purposes, and the second of that is to keep young Cape vultures that are unable to be released. Now, these birds in time will form part of our captive breeding program, but these birds take about 6 years to reach sexual maturity. So before that time, they will stay here amongst other young vultures, and once they reach that age, they will then be moved to the Cape Vulture breeding enclosure. Cape vultures are the only endemic vulture in the region, and are also the heaviest vulture. South Africa is the last stronghold for breeding birds of the species, and hosts 8,800 mature individuals of the 9,400 mature individuals in the world. This species is listed as endangered, and one of the main threats that we see to this species at VulPro is the threat of power lines, either resulting in electrocution or collision incidents. We also house a number of other individuals, so let's go check those guys out. A black vulture from the Americas, we also house a king vulture, three Andean condors from South America, three spotted eagle owls, and our resident African fish eagle. Welcome to our hide at VulPro's very own Vulture Restaurant. There's birds feeding right now, which is why I'm talking so quietly, but let's go check. A Vulture restaurant is a place to provide safe food for vultures on a regular basis. This is unfortunately necessary, as there is a lack of safe food available to vultures in the wild. This is due to the fact that over the years, farming practices have changed, and many carcasses are burned or buried instead of being left out for vultures. The carcasses that are left out for vultures are also not always safe for them to consume, as many veterinary drugs are not safe for vultures. For this reason, it is vitally important to ensure that there are places where these vultures can find safe food in order for them to continue surviving in the wild. Thanks so much for coming on this tour with us. If you have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the comments below and we'll get to them as soon as possible. If you enjoyed this tour and you'd like to take your own tour of VulPro, please pop us an email. We'd love to have you here sometime. In the meantime, have a fantastic International Vulture Awareness Day, and we'll see you again soon. Bye!